Dr. Everett J. Edmunds raised his zombies from nothing but spare parts and old voodoo spells. He desired his living dead to crave the most exceptional brains, believing in superior nutrition. Dinner time saw the regular service of lawyers and doctors, novelists and scientists. Late nights he'd strap a poor unfortunate neurosurgeon to the chair in his dank subterranean laboratory and remove the poor fellow's scalp to an old Bach vinyl. "Why, Dr. Browning, you look pale," he might say. "Perhaps some electrolytes. Malaise in the system is no good." And of course, upon devouring each subject, his zombies became that much more rare and exceptional. That was his overriding theory, at least. Everett had found concrete proof hard to come by. One evening, as the sun set on his small, weed-infested plot of land, his door buzzer rang, interrupting an attempt to teach his horde calculus. Everett swore and hushed his zombies, climbing the steps into the house proper. All his life he'd been an achiever, which was why his bookcases and mantel were lined with trophies, awards, and various certificates of excellence. The medical community valued his intellect, or rather, they had valued it before that troublesome string of psychotic breaks. Poor timing, those. The clothes made the man. Perhaps his walk-in freezer was full of arms and hearts now, but he was still a scholar and a gentleman. To wit, answering the door like a regular person. Upon reaching the top of the stairs, Dr. Edmunds peered through the peephole. There on his stoop stood the love of his life, the one who got away, a half-zombie named Camilla. Overjoyed to see her, he undid numerous locks, chains, and deadbolts. If yearning had a voice, it'd be soft and sweet like Camilla's. "Brains!" she cooed. Everett said, "Darling, you've come back to me." "Brains!" "Of course, my love, come inside. The horde has missed you, and so have I." She followed dutifully. Her zombified brothers and sisters would no doubt devour Everett just as surely as they'd eat a Steve Jobs or a Chopin. But not his Camilla. She'd been so beautiful in life, his favorite nurse at the hospital. The car crash that claimed her life hadn't been entirely accidental. From the book of voodoo spells he'd purchased on the internet, he'd selected for her a special hex, the half-zombie, or Death's Last Kiss. Though her skin was rotting and her jawbone flopped like the useless handle of a can opener, Camilla was still the most beautiful woman Dr. Edmunds had ever seen. Leading her into the bowels of his reeking laboratory, he embraced her deeply. She smelled wonderful-ish. "Dearest, why don't you climb back in the cage where you belong?" he said. "Brains!" "What do you mean they won't like you anymore? Have you really changed so much?" Camilla indicated she had, and then proceeded to describe her adventures in the world of the living. Apparently, she tried to go back to school, and had even attended her nephew's bar mitzvah, a ghastly affair, after which her own family had chased her into the night. Edmunds opened the cage door cautiously, sensing a lull in zombie aggression. "Dear heart, please step inside. I can't bear to lose you again. When you ran away, I feared I'd lost a piece of myself." "Brains!" she said, which translated loosely as, "I'm wearing a wire, Everett." "What do you mean?" he said. "Brains!" "What do you mean? What do I mean? I'm wearing a wire. The police have already arrived. You're going to jail for what you've done." "Camilla, how could you?" Everett said. "Brains!" "I could never love you, Everett. You're a certifiable ghoul. It took me years to realize it, but now that I have, I can't stand the sight of you. Now please don't struggle for me, all right?" The door to the laboratory burst open. A host of armed police filed in, issuing orders, telling him to show his hands. Though he always suspected this day might come, he somehow thought the only monster to betray him would be himself. Having been a fan of the cinema since childhood, he shouted, "You'll never take me alive, coppers!" Everett ran into the cage, slammed the door, pressed in tightly against his zombies. But they ignored him. In fact, they paid him no more attention than Camilla paid basic rules of vocabularic variety. This, of course, was the real tragedy, for if they didn't want to eat his delicious, fertile, exceptional brain, well, maybe he wasn't so exceptional after all. The police urged Camilla to yank him from the cage. She did so, and they placed him in handcuffs. "That's the way the cookie crumbles, Doc," said one of the officers, brutish man with coffee stains on his untucked uniform. After reading him his Miranda rights outside under a high, flickering streetlight, the police gathered around their cruisers and watched Night of the Living Dead on the screen of a smartphone, likely also purchased on the internet. Camilla wept swiftly from afar. Movie looks so fake. Brave.